Welcome to another week of SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by. Hang on. It's a Monday. Let me fix the hair. Hair's kind of going off in a bunch of different directions, but that's nothing new. It is a new week of SDH AM. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Today, it is the guests that we traditionally have, at least two of them on Mondays. It is Abe Gordon joining us in just a little bit. We'll go over kind of a broad overview of what happened in Major League Soccer on the weekend, and if anything specifically stuck in Abe's mind. Coming up at 10 o'clock, after Abe visits for a little bit, Bart Keeler is going to join us, SoccerForUSPod. We'll go over the weekend when it comes to the U.S. men's national team abroad. And there's a lot to get. Let's just go ahead and say it now. There's a lot to get into when it comes to cards and calls. And I'm going to kind of leave it to Bart because there's stuff in MLS, there's stuff overseas, and yeah, it is staggering what we could talk about. I'll let Bart kind of drive the bus a little bit, and specifically, I may just mention a match and then have him go in whatever moment he wants to get into to give you an idea. One match kind of seemed like it was a color your own experience. It's a describe your own experience coloring book. And you had a manager after the match basically say, yeah, I can't really say what I want to say. Then you had a match with a goal that was disallowed from a tucked-in elbow. You had in that same match that chant, and that might be opening kickoff before Abe joins us. In a third match, you had 8 rounds of PKs. Two of the best keepers on the planet kind of giving a staring contest at one another in that. Then you had a match that shouldn't have gone to PKs, but did. And you had some of the worst PKs on the board that I think I've seen in quite some time. Then you had a match that went to PKs that kind of took care of business. In that particular series, it was 2 and done. Then you had a match that had, let's see, let me see if I can get everything squared away here. So you had an elbow that wasn't called. You had a straight red for a dog-so. You had a call that was either PK, no PK, down inside the 18. Then you had a match late where you had a swing with an arm that created a VAR moment. So, yeah, VAR was very, very busy this past weekend. Domestically, it was busy. Overseas, you had the second time in a week where a team was apparently had a goal scored on them off a corner, and the coach is wondering about VAR and corner kicks, and we might get into that discussion. So VAR cannot review corners overseas because it's not listed. And then you had a direct kick from a corner. You had an Olympico last week where it should have been a goal kick. And then you had a quote from the coach that was affected twice in a week. And so apparently overseas, maybe we should look at corners and things to add to it. How VAR doesn't look at a corner is kind of beyond me, but you had that moment on the weekend overseas. Then we'll get into the why, basically, of why it was not looked at and why it isn't looked at. IFAB actually did have an explanation at the time when VAR was instituted. We'll get into that. So you had you had VAR mistakes. Key match incident panel was very, very busy. And then you had a moment where a team suffers through VAR, but then you get a delay. 3 minutes and 11 seconds, play stop for a total of 4:18. That's overseas. So there's plenty to play with when it comes to cards and calls at 10 o'clock, in addition to the weekend for U.S. national team. Gabe Schray is going to join us at 10:30 because when you thought that there was only that to talk about, there's plenty to talk about in MLS NEXT PRO. We know our championship match next weekend, and it's going to be, I imagine, Harrison, New Jersey. And we'll get into that discussion, and we will also get into what happened in USL League One. Yes, NWSL had their decision day. Yes, managers have been sacked overseas. Yes, folks are looking to kind of dig into clubs that are up for sale. Yes, the USL has made some hires, and yes, Barcelona's financials are still kind of out there in the breeze somewhere. But it's that time where we bring in Abe Gordon as he's properly hydrating. We'll find out how he is on his sojourns and how he is on keeping his mileage the way that it's supposed to be. So we'll bring in Abe here as we always do on a Monday. So where are you now in your off-season training? Where are you now?
I'm at the part of the offseason where I'm about to make a terrible decision. Couple members of my run club are actively trying to talk me into running the Publix full marathon. So we'll see. I'm going to try and ramp up mileage and see how it feels, and take a look at the Thanksgiving half marathon and kind of what time I put up there, and commit, I guess. We'll see.
Oh man, you're a braver soul than I am. I will tell you that. I mean, I will be a good spectator. Actually, no, I won't. I'll probably be in bed for the half marathons and things like that. But no, you're a braver man than I, and you're in better shape than I am, and that's why you get paid the big bucks. All right, so traditionally in this time slot, we talk about Atlanta United. There isn't a whole lot going on with Atlanta United, but there is a whole lot going on with the postseason. My first question is, how much of it did you consume on the weekend, or are we flying off the cuff here with you and your thoughts from the weekend, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. It's tough to find TV space, even with the TV setup I have, especially because the World Series kind of blanked out Saturday night. Well, I mean, alongside obviously the other TVs all being on college football. I did have to keep one on the World Series. So I kind of saw the scores. I saw what was going on. It's just cool to see these winner take all games develop in some of these series. You know, I off of decision day, I had a lot of interest in that Miami-Nashville series. Like, I am glad, even though Miami dominated their home game, I am glad to see that go to a deciding game, and we'll see what happens there. You know, obviously got some friends on the Charlotte broadcast crew, and I know we're supposed to hate Charlotte, but interested in what they got going on in the penalty kick shootout there. So kind of paying attention there more than anywhere else. But yeah, it'll probably ramp up a little bit more now that the World Series is off one of the TVs. I have one to float around, depending on how many good games are at each time slot in college football.
Yeah, I am. How do we phrase this? It is a multi-screen experience on my part, without question. Even when the boss and I go to Auburn and watch whatever that was for 60 minutes. Yeah, it was pretty painful, but we're keeping an eye on all the things. All right, so let's get into but you mentioned Charlotte and NYC, and since that was the first one of the weekend, we'll go ahead and talk about it. I don't think that full disclosure, we don't hate Will Pelagic. We don't. He's part of the cadre. He's part of the group here. We don't hate Will. It's just that if you're an Atlanta United fan, you're looking at an owner that runs his mouth from day one. Hey, Atlanta's my rival, and those kinds of things. And that's where the beginning of it was with Charlotte. But with Charlotte now, 8 rounds of PKs, it reinforces Christian Kalina and Matt Freese as two of the best out there as shot stoppers, or does it reinforce that folks need to work on their PKs?
Quite frankly, I at the professional level, and I am not a professional. I understand that. I think these guys should be good enough to bury a penalty kick, no matter how good the goalie is. I think way too many guys take an easy route of just hoping that a guy misses, hoping a guy guesses the wrong way. I don't think enough penalty kicks are taken hip height, shoulder height, or higher. I think placing it on the ground leaves it 50-50. If a guy can cover and guesses right, he can make the save. You're a professional, man. Like, you're the best in the business, and you should be able to place the ball from 12 yards out relatively close to wherever you want it. And there's just no excuse to not go shoulder height on a kick. You should be able to keep it inside the bar. And it's one of the most difficult saves, if not an impossible save. It doesn't have to be upper 90, but if you're shoulder height, even if you're 5-6 feet in the air, if a goalie's diving, they just can't cover it. And I feel like more should be taken in that manner. And it's always kind of brain numbing when I don't see these guys who, in a game are looking for it, but the nerves get into them. The fear of missing gets into them, and they just make sure to put it on frame as opposed to make sure it gets by the goalie. So a little bit of that. A credit to the keepers, right? You kind of judge the run up. You kind of try and judge the plant foot, and maybe you're judging the eyes at times and trying to get whatever reads you can. Tendencies, obviously, to guess right. At the end of the day, though, like if the guy takes a good enough kick, you can guess right. Heck, you can pretty much go stand there. It won't matter. And I just don't think enough kicks are taken in that manner.
Have you seen, for me, I don't think I have seen more posts and crossbars than I have in the first 2+ matches of these series going on. There have been some awful thoughts when it comes to taking PKs so far in the postseason, and it's been driving me crazy. I mean, look, San Diego misses 3 in a row to exit game 2 in a game where they give up a goal at 90+8. And they go to PKs, and it was Portland and San Diego. I swear it was almost there were more misses than makes. I'll have to go back and look, but it was into sudden death. But yeah, you missed 3 in a row if you're San Diego, and some folks just didn't look like they wanted anything to do with taking a PK in the postseason this year.
Yeah, and I get the pressures ramped up, but it's just like it should. And again, they're not quite equally comparative, but it should be like a free throw. Like you should be able to step up and know where you want to take it and just go there pretty close to accurate every single time. And look, maybe you get psyched out. You're afraid a keeper's gonna lean one way or play the way that you want to go. But I can almost excuse hitting the post. The crossbar there's just no way it's not a mishit or nerves reacting to you. There's just no way that was your intention to hit underside a crossbar or anything like that. It doesn't need to be that tight, the manners, but yeah, it just, everyone jokes about, PK practice or whatever, but it needs to be taken seriously. So I think a lot of guys just presume it's never going to come down to them, especially if you're not knowingly one of the top 5 or 6 takers. And there have been some times where we've seen some guys you definitely do not want stepping up for a penalty kick, stepping up. So, it's a little bit of fun part of practice, but you got to make sure it's taken seriously too.
Yeah. And at the same time, I mean, it's just, you can defensively make sure that you don't give up a goal at 90+8, mark the guys inside 6 so you don't get to that point. Javier Mascherano, after his match where Rocco was called for a penalty, and let's just say, as I mentioned, it was another Alan Chapman color your own adventure, book when it came to whatever he decided he wanted to do for calls and the consistency and inconsistency and such. Mascherano, after the match, says, and he said, and this is after the 2-1 loss, he criticized officiating and the decision not to consult VAR on the penalty that was conceded by Rocker Rios Novo. Mascherano, quote, "I'd rather not comment on the refereeing. I know how the system works, and I don't want to give anyone an excuse to come after me, but I'm surprised they didn't go to VAR. The tool is there, and I don't understand why they didn't use it." So it was one of those where Mascherano kind of said what he wanted to say without saying it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and look, I don't know all the specifics of how the system works. I'm glad that he does, being a manager in the league.
I think it's more along the lines of, well, if I say too much, then I know that they'll come gunning for us and they won't give us the benefit of the doubt, I think is where.
Well, I guess what I meant is, like, doesn't VA, I mean, is it like a touchdown or a turnover in American football where it gets looked at automatically, and if there's no reason to review, they just move on? Mm-mm. Or does the head official have to call for review?
Sometimes Dallas will buzz.
Okay, so all right, so let me just stop you there, and then we can go step by step.
Yeah.
To his point, why didn't they buzz?
They probably looked at it a couple times and didn't think it was worth it.
Okay, so that's the end of the conversation, right? Like, to me, that should be the end of the conversation, because it sounds like what you're saying is they had the opportunity to buzz. They looked at it. They decided not to do that. That's it. That's why we don't go to VAR. They had already determined it's not worth a deeper look. So, like, he can cry and complain all he wants. That's the conversation. It was briefly looked at, determined it didn't need further review, and we move on. Like, to me, that's the end of the conversation.
And you'll see there are times where if a team wants something, if they want something looked at, the player will stay down a little longer. The player will, I mean, just for instance, you won't get up, and he's being told maybe to stay down so they can take a peek at it or something in that vein where.
I would argue that's probably when something has not been called and they want it called,
right,
not when it's not the other way around. Once it's been called, you have all the time in the world before penalty spot, ball, and kick is taken. So, I mean, there was plenty of time.
Yeah, and so there are instances where, to your point, nothing has been buzzed from Dallas to the center ref, and you'll have a player who is down, they feel aggrieved for whatever reason. Then that's one instance where it'll happen. You'll have another where it'll be people walking back to a situation. It's just kind of taking your time. If everybody is upright, you have 22 sets of legs that are functioning from one end of the field to the other. So you'll have that happening. Then you'll have, if an event does happen, then you'll have a lot of folks crowding the referee to sit there and try to encourage the ref to, have the conversation heard back in Dallas. And the ref might just sit there and go, back away or whatever. So it can come at you from the end looking for something, or from the event having happened looking for something to change the event, or to encourage from Dallas an event that wasn't called to get looked at. So it can come at you from either direction, and you're hoping for VAR to intervene.
Yeah, again, for me, it's just the referee made a decision, didn't see a need to review it, and wasn't told from the outside spectators that it needed to be reviewed. And I think ultimately that to me is a fair enough assessment of it. So I don't know. I just, over the course of the season, like, we saw so many penalties, and I would sit up and I'm just going back to Atlanta United now, not even across the entire league.
Right.
We saw so many times where, and I was sitting up there largely with Maddie, but you would come hang out sometimes in the second half, and there'd be situations where she thought it was a penalty, and I'm like, I get what you see, but there's just no way that's a penalty. And so I'm pretty fair when I think so. And I'm pretty unbiased at that too when watching Atlanta United, especially this season when hopes and dreams were out the window early. I'm like, I don't even care at this point. Like, that's not a penalty. Whatever. I'm not going to die trying to beg for us to score a penalty kick goal here. We're already down 3-1. What's the difference? So I feel like I was pretty fair, and it's just like, I don't know. It needs to be pretty obvious to me that it either was or was not a penalty, or certainly if you're going to review it, I know they use whatever term they use. I prefer the word egregious.
Clear and obvious.
They use clear and obvious. I like egregious. It needs to be an egregious error, either because it was given or not given, for them to look at it. If it's close, and here's the other problem: you can't use freeze frames. You can't use a photo. It needs to be video, and you can't slow it down.
Right.
You need the thing about it is you need to be able to make these calls at speed in a review. You can't slow it down. Everything. This is, I guess, more for like a foul than a handball, if that makes sense. But at speed, everything looks different. Everything looks so much worse slowed down. And so I don't think for fouls you should be able to just slow-mo it frame by frame and be like, oh, look at all the contact. And it's not really how it works. That's just my feeling. So I don't know. Like, I just don't put yourself in a position to foul someone inside a box and go on from there.
Right. This past weekend, NYC and Charlotte are going to a game number 3. Philadelphia was 2 and done with Chicago.
Yeah.
Nashville's going to a game 3 back at the Erector Set. Portland and San Diego are going to a game 3. Vancouver takes care of business, and they win their second game in PKs. Columbus and Cincinnati, Hellas Real, is going to a game 3. LAFC took care of business. So it's going to be these two rookies in the next round of the playoffs. I don't know if you've heard of them. Sonny and Thomas Mueller going up against each other. These two young guys that are in world soccer that might have futures in front of them. They're going to be going at it again in the next round. And then tonight we've got Seattle and Minnesota to wrap up match day 2. Minnesota can close it out, but it's a late game out at Lumen. So it's a 10. So if it's 10:45, my guess is it will be in the neighborhood of 10:55 or 10:57 Eastern time for the 4 and the 5. So what have you thought so far about who's clinched and who's heading to games 3?
Yeah, I think for the most part, with the exception of San Diego, I think the teams you thought would go to and through have done so. And I think doing what you're supposed to is impressive. Like I mentioned, some of these series, these matchups that are going 3, it feels like it should have been 3, or I'm generally just excited for it to be 3. I think Nashville, Miami playing that fun game on decision day and then wrapping right around into a best of 3 series, it deserved to go 3. And I think the battle for Ohio, if you want to call it that, it's great to see that go 3 as well. 2 really good teams. Either team at the right time could get hot and win this thing. And ultimately someone needs to get hot match day 3 and they're going home. So I don't know. I know there's been a lot of discussion between like, is this best of 3 series the right way to approach it? Should it have been 2 games, aggregate stuff? Should we just keep it one and done like the rest of the format? I just feel like you've gotten some really good matchups here. And it's probably paid off in terms of what the hopes were for a entertaining and attractive MLS playoff this season.
Well, and at the same time, I think that if you are a network and you are trying to attract folks to your product, the more games in your inventory means more episodes for your television series called Major League Soccer, and you get the opportunity to bring more folks under the tent that might not have had the chance to see them instead of just doing one and done, one and done, one and done, one and done. You add more episodes. Look, when Friends was popular, they wanted more episodes of Friends every single season because everybody wanted to know about Ross and Rachel, and they wanted to know, if Chandler could be any more offended when it came to anything that Ross was doing in public. So you want more episodes of Friends. You want more episodes of all those series that you like, instead of just sitting there and going, oh, let's do an after school special. Oh, let's just do this one episode. Oh, let's do a quarterly movie. No, you want more episodes. That's what you want here.
Yeah, I mean, look, what I'm about to say is not like a hot take thing. I know the schedule is being discussed. If that's what Apple actually cares about, then you can't play opposite college football in the NFL. Like you just can't run your playoffs in football season, which obviously would mean you bury the first half of your season in football season and then wrap around and you kind of go more with the European schedules. And it's, again, this is a lot larger discussion than it's what Apple wants, right? Like it has a lot more to do. Like they're kind of stuck dealing with like, this is where the league is and we have to do what we can. And I think they did an okay job trying to spread out some of these games on a Friday night.
They needed more on Friday. They needed more on Fridays.
They needed more, but they also went all the way into Monday and Tuesday, and they're trying to space it out as best they can.
Yeah.
You can't go against the World Series. You certainly can't go against the NFL. You probably can't even go against college football, although I do think there's a late window that maybe on Saturdays at 10 o'clock or 10:15 you could take more advantage of.
Yeah.
But it's just, you're going to get buried. Like there's no way around it. And so to me, if this is going against, regular season baseball and I guess the NCAA tournament and like, I don't know the exact timeline, but I mean, you kind of get my drift.
Yeah.
It's a matter of whether you bury the second half of the season or the first half. Like, are people invested right now enough to where it survives through football season? In some cities, sure. I think generally, no.
Yeah.
Would that be better off most people not paying attention at all in the first half and then kind of gearing up to the last month or two and then into the playoffs. I mean, that's pretty much what college basketball does anyway. By the way, college basketball starts today. There's some big games out in Vegas tonight, and no one's paying attention. Like, no one's going to pay attention to college basketball until pretty much after, and even later than that, like after the Super Bowl. I mean, you're talking 6 weeks out from Selection Sunday, right? I mean, that's when people dial in for college basketball, and somehow it survives. It's still, now they do a lot better job, obviously, during the week. Big Tuesday and I forgot what all their Super Tuesday, Big Monday, whatever, something Thursday. I don't know.
Yes.
But they do a better job through the week, and then they kind of bite the bullet on Saturdays and Sundays until it's their time. And again, not for the league, but I'm speaking specifically for Apple. I have to wonder if they would prefer the season flipped.
Yeah, and that's going to be a discussion that's going to be over the next, I think, year and a half. I think after the 26 Cup that the world is chasing after, then they'll have that decision and try to figure out where to go from here. So we have fixed VAR. That was what we've done today when it comes to your visit. We actually fixed VAR.
I want to get the VAR in the situation we have with like the ACC replay review, where you can actually hear everything that's going on and what they're looking at and why the decision is made. That needs to become standard, not only across football, the college football, pro, but I'd like to see it come to other sports as well. So we'll see if there's any pressure, but obviously for those of you who watch college football and see what the ACC has provided, really cool stuff.
Yes, and it needs to be in every blanking conference all the time, and their level of access really should be the baseline for any league that has it going forward. Go hydrate and make sure that you continue to train properly. I know that we'll be talking about this as we get closer and closer to the half, but go enjoy not running for a couple of hours. What's going on with you at 92.9 The Game these days? All Falcons all the time?
Yeah, we're actually, if anyone watched the game, we might be holding kicking auditions there at the Children's Healthcare Facility of Atlanta. If any of the members of Atlanta United have previous football experience, aren't afraid to put their head downs and create a tackle, and I don't know, can hit a 42-yarder, might be looking for one.
No doubt. As always, my friend, great to see you. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
There goes Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. And so, yes, we have we have fixed VAR, at least in the first couple of steps anyway. And to Abe's point, I think what the ACC is doing in real time in football, that should be the bellwether for everybody else. I know that a lot of folks are going to sit there and go, I'm not too sure about live access kinds of things. I mean, we do have Inside the VAR studio and all of that, but we don't have the instant access of the conversations, say, overseas or anything like that. I think it would make for better understanding of what's going on instead of on a Friday news dump before your next round of matches to sit there and go, yeah, well, this is okay. Do you see this? No. Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this? And then we also have to kind of go looking for Inside the VAR studio. And I don't know if don't think I've seen one in the postseason. I don't think I have seen one in the postseason, So that's another thing. The consistency of that product. Like I said, I haven't seen it. It hasn't been promoted. I'm sure that it might be out there. Like I said, it might be on a Friday news dump or something where they sit there and go, and this week inside the, VAR studio, this happened, So it needs to be what the ACC is doing needs to be the baseline for anybody going forward. It should be. But like I said, I know that a lot of folks aren't too keen on having their moves and decisions and thought patterns analyzed in real time. Sometimes though, that's what we need to have a better understanding. Bart Keeler joining us at the top of the hour. We'll talk about everything that happened with the Yanks Abroad. We'll get into that. But yeah, there's a lot to get into from the weekend. There is. And what I want to do for those of you that might be new, when we bring Bart in, Bart is the host of the Soccer for USPod that airs here in the network. And we go over everything that goes on in U.S. soccer, whether it's tournaments, it's the U17s or what have you. Whatever's going on right now, we're gearing up for the U17s. on the men's side. But because of Bart's time as a center ref and an AR in organized soccer, we bring Bart in to kind of walk us through calls through the prism of the laws of the game. And when he comes in, we'll take moments and we will apply them to the laws of the game. Bart may sit there and say, well, because of the laws of the game, this should have been what you administered as opposed to something else. And then, yes, Bart does give his own opinions in these situations, but at the same time, we walk through the laws of the game to sit there and say, okay, currently A, B, C, D, E. And so there are plenty of moments to get into from the weekend. There is the Rocco Rios Novo penalty shout. There is the Jason Palacios elbow on Luis Suarez, and Palacios, I think, got away with one. You have in Nashville and Miami, I think you have those two. In Philadelphia and Chicago, you have a moment where Chicago was trailing, and it looked like Brian Gutierrez had scored a goal, but under VAR, it was viewed to have come off his arm and going into the net. Some folks may be conflating contact in a safe area versus a handball and saying it should not have been allowed. So we'll get into that particular play, which could have changed the momentum of that match to make it 2-1 at the time early in the second half. Goal was wiped off. Then it was 3-0, and that was your final, and Chicago is gone. Max Anderson, play-by-play voice of the Fire, is going to be joining us tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be at 9:40 or if it's going to be at 10:30. That'll be up to Max tomorrow and what his day is like. KCD joins us at 9:15, maybe a little earlier, to go over decision day in the NWSL, which had its own bout of chaos. You had a team get their spot in the postseason by 1 goal of goal difference. Identical record, go to the next tiebreaker, and then it's a goal and goal difference, and that was the decider over one team and another in the postseason when it came to the NWSL. We'll talk about that with KCD tomorrow. We'll talk about the SEC, the ACC. The SEC had their opening playoffs. The 7-10 matchups were yesterday, and we'll go through all of the other college stuff and maybe a little Major League Soccer with Casey White when she comes in tomorrow at 9:15. Like I said, Max Anderson from Chicago is going to be joining us at some point tomorrow, 10 o'clock tomorrow. We catch up with an ownership group that is an MCO. Reminder that we're taping with Jason Stevens to talk about MCOs, and that will air tomorrow. It should at 10:30. But we have a group based in Birmingham, Alabama, that is involved in MCOs. We're going to find out from the Travella Group what made them go down this road. When they chose those clubs, what did they see in them? What do they see as they're working forward? And just how a group from Birmingham wanted to invest in multiple and be a multi-club organization when it comes to soccer. So that's coming up at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Like I said, we're taping Jason Stevens at 10. It might be at 10:30 if Max Anderson joins us at 9:40. It might be later if it's joining us later than that. So that's tomorrow's rundown. Wednesday, obviously, Tyler's going to join us. Dylan hopefully can join us, and we're obviously efforting guests and things like that. We're going to try and track down Chris Doran again this week since Hell is Real is now best of one, and we'll go through that particular series with him and look for some of his sound bites from previous appearances on social discussing Hell is Real, Darlington, Nagby, etc. That'll be coming up this week. So also we'll be efforting a couple of other folks, and it was all of the other voices that we have in here. We're going to try and bring in some other voices as well, especially with the import of what's going on in Major League Soccer with the best of ones happening. And we'll try and track down Pelagic, because I think that one's Friday night for match day last in that series. And so we will go, Charlotte and NYC at the Bank Friday night, time TBD, and it's going to be on Apple. So we'll set up a flare for Will Pelagic to have him come and join us. I don't know if you saw the conversation, speaking of Charlotte, while we're here. Top Bin 90 and Wilf Zaha kind of had a coming together in a press conference situation. Zaha had been asked about being the talisman, and he kind of took a bit of an umbrage to it. And so then Top Bin, and the whole audio is out there, but it came out to be about a minute 40 of a conversation. And Top Bin 90 basically said on their podcast that Zaha was a marquee player and that they needed a big game from him. So when Zaha saw them, I believe it was after match day 2, he had a bit of a coming together with them. And it wasn't, like yelling, ranting, raving, what have you, but it was an earnest conversation between the two where you have a player kind of taking exception to what was written in print. And you had, if I could spell, can I spell Carol Rogers properly? So Carol Rogers, for those of you that may know, she was a longtime writer here in Atlanta at the AJC. She's been up in Charlotte with the Charlotte Ledger for a while. She did baseball with the AJC when she was there. And then you had the exchange between the two parties. And I'm trying to, because Carol was there. And where was it? Okay, so it was an exchange with Jorge Gonzalez as he came in for his presser, taking exception to the point that it was down to him if Charlotte doesn't win because of red card suspension. Then Zaha says, it's easy to talk from the other side. We've gone 34 games. I've been fouled 1,000,000 times. I'm human. And then Gonzalez comes back responding that as the talisman part of it and the importance of his quality having him on the field showed. And Carol was somewhat torn as to whether or not to post the exchange, but they both had points. But yeah, Zaha said that he basically had been fouled 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and so he kind of took exception to what Top Bin had said, and they had a bit of a conversation about it. So Wolf Zaha kind of took a bit of an umbrage to what Top Bin had said. He's emotional, he's human, those kinds of things. So that was an interesting conversation that Wolf Zaha had with Top Bin up in Charlotte. Like I said, we'll track down Will Pelagic. We'll see if we can get to him before Friday. Maybe it would be Friday, considering that's match day and there's no practices or anything going on. We'll see if we can track down Willie P this week as well. So the matchups once again tonight: Seattle and Minnesota is at 10:45. That one probably more like 10:55 or 10:57. And it's going to be on MLS Season Pass, Apple, FS1, and Fox Deportes. And then that leads us to Friday with Charlotte and NYC. Saturday is Minnesota, Seattle, Messi and Friends in Nashville at the Erector Set, and Hell is Real. All three of those, that's when your match day threes are going to be for that one. And then Sunday for SNS, it's going to be Portland and San Diego at the Murph Dragon. And that's your layout. So those are your 5 matchups that are left on the board. And it'll be 1 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, times TBD. Let's see. What else to discuss with Bart? Like I said, there's plenty. There's plenty. The Yuya Kubo dog so that created an opportunity for Dylan Shambaugh and getting a goal on the board there. So you had the Gutierrez handball. The goal was disallowed. You have the Kubo dog so and leading to a goal as Crew completely blow out FC Cincinnati. Word of encouragement. We love across the board the local radio option on Apple. This would be one of those moments where you want to have visiting and home options available. Obviously, for those of us that listen to Mike and Jason and follow along here in Atlanta, because they travel, it should be something that Apple should have available. And if I'm not mistaken, it's just another line from an audio booth to plug into the truck. It's just another audio line. So I don't know if folks have thought this out, but you need to have the road radio option available as well, especially for those teams that travel. But the Hell is Real Game 3 won, and we have had Chris on the show a lot, and this is an unsolicited solicitation. Chris Dorn is a must-listen to on the home side for important matches for Columbus Crew. I know, obviously, like I said, you're locked into Atlanta United most of the time, but if you have the opportunity, Chris is one of the great voices in this league. That's why we have him on as much as we do. And the fact that he answers the phone and doesn't run away the other direction really speaks a lot to Chris and what he puts up with from me when he does visit. So Chris Doran is a must-listen to. We put him right up there with Adrian Garcia-Marquez in San Diego, with Joe Totino with LA Galaxy, with Dave Denholm in LAFC, with the folks in Portland, with the folks in Seattle, and Chris in Columbus. There are a lot of great voices that we have here on the show. Doran is a must-listen to. And I know, speaking of that, there was a hot mic that happened in Chicago and Philly from the home radio option. And it was, let's just say it was rather vociferous. And it was a slam dunk comment that we had for the Chicago match with Philly. But yeah, I would say that one of the big things, if you're looking for surveys, if any of you are, I don't know if Apple does this kind of a thing or not. If they have surveys at the end of the year when it comes to Major League Soccer, hey, what did you like? What did you not like? What would you improve? Everybody just put down you want the away audio as well. Like I said, I think it's just taking an audio cable from that booth, hitting the wall with it, plugging it in, running a cable, figuring out where the output is, going into the truck with it. I think it's just an extra output. I think that's it. But I think that to serve it fairly, when you're going to do radio in Major League Soccer, you need to have the home and away option. So if there's ever an end-of-season survey, not that we would encourage this kind of a thing, but maybe is something to put down in there, have both home and road audio. Just saying. Completely and totally just veered off, but I know that doesn't shock anybody. Portland and San Diego. Oh boy. Yeah, you had one of those moments. And I talked about it with Abe a little bit. And then you go into what you don't want to go into, being comfortable or uncomfortable. It was 2-1 San Diego until later than late. And I mean later than late. You're trying to find something quick to try and get an equalizer. This happened. Keith and Mo on the call, courtesy of Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
At that back post, just waiting for a moment, but somehow, some way.
Long throw that's become back in fashion in world football. Throwing towards Paredes. Lassiter with the cross. The header on target and in. Ball with a level laid on.
Comes from a gamble. Put yourself into a dangerous area. Put the ball in the box and win your individual duels. Gage Guerra amongst a slew of white shirts. He rises early. He rises high.
That was Keith and Mo late night. And Gabe Guerra at 90+8 makes it 2-2. So let's go through, after 90 minutes, let's go into PKs for Portland and San Diego, just to kind of give you a piece of the chaos. And then we'll go into Charlotte and NYC. We'll discuss the chaos that happened there in a bit. Felipe Mora, Anders Dreyer, 1-1 after 1. Paredes misses. Chucky Lozano hits. It's 2-1 after 2. Fernandez misses for Portland. So they are 3 frames in, and they have missed 2 PKs. Then you have Valakari come in for San Diego, chance to close it. He misses. You would have been 3 up after 3. You would have been 3-1 up after 3 frames, and all you would have had to do if Valakari had made it, get to the 4th and make yours. Christoph Velda makes in the 4th. Ingevartsen misses for San Diego in the bottom of the 4th. So now you're squared away at 2-2. Heading to the 5th, Anthony scores, Tverskov misses, and you're done. So you go from being up 2-1 after 2 to missing 3 PKs in a row. And in the Portland-San Diego PK setup, only half of the PKs were made. You want to talk about being anxious? And I mean, there was posts and saves and every crossbars and skying it over the top. You pretty much had everything on the PK bingo card in this one, and it only went 5 frames. San Diego makes their first 2, misses the next 3. Portland misses their next 2. And then as San Diego is missing, Velda and Anthony make 3-2 final after 5, and then we go on to a game 3. Now, to start the afternoon, NYC and Charlotte. Goalless after 90, no real shock. As we say, playing in the 106 by the 108 by the 106 by 68 or whatever it was. See, now I'm going to have to go back and look because that's the U12 pitch that is there in the Bronx. So Peter Vermes Yankee Stadiums, 106 by 68. Was that what he said? 68 by 106. Yeah, 68 by 106. So in the 68 by 106, no goals scored. No real shock. Then you get into the PKs. And it took a while. You look at the PKs in that particular rundown. Martinez makes, Goodwin makes 1-1. O'Neill makes, Westwood misses 2-1 after 2. Thiago Martins makes, Toklamati makes 3-2 after 3. Fernandez then misses to swing everything back to Charlotte. Toffolo makes, and so now we're tied at 3 after 4 frames. Hack Zaha make to send us to sudden death. Hannes Wolf, Adelson Malanda make. Gustavo and Diani make. And then you have Ojeda miss and Nathan Byrne make. So it takes 8 frames, and you have 2 misses by NYC, 7-6 in PKs. Charlotte advances to play at the bank on Friday night. So you had your bout of chaos there with that one, too. So 2 that made it into PKs. Obviously, Vancouver and FC Dallas made it into PKs, and FC Dallas did not find a way to win the PK setup. It only took 4 frames because, once again, half of the kicks taken by Dallas did not make it. Musa, Mueller make. Delgado miss, Berhalter make. Shackmore, Cabrera make. Going into the 4th, Norris misses, Halbuni makes. Game over, series over. The Whitecaps win. That was a very poor, very lowly caffeinated John Sterling there. But 4-2 in PKs, only goes 4 frames. Vancouver moves on. And Vancouver and LAFC, legitimately, the 2 and the 3 playing in the semis. That's literally how it should be. Unless, of course, San Diego loses and then the 8 goes through. I've always thought that you should reseed in a situation like that, but that's just me. But anyway, so Vancouver through as the 2. LAFC through as the 3. And I don't know, it's in looking at our friends at Verde All Day and Phil West, it was a bit of an adventure early on for Austin defensively going up against LAFC. A lot of chasing going on by Austin. You had a goal by Yeonmin Son in the 21st, Denny Bouanga 4 minutes later, and for them it just looks so easy at times. It really does. Then Bouanga gets a brace in the 44th. You get a PK at 45+6. Danny Pereira makes it, and this is after a PK happened earlier that was missed by Mirto Uzuni. That was one of the most nervous, not effective. I mean, it went down the middle. It was an easy one for Hugo Lloris to save, but Uzuni went down the middle on it. Lloris didn't have to move. Then you finally get one at 45+6, and then it's 3-1 at that point. Austin's chasing. And then you have the Picard PK, no PK in the 73rd that wasn't called inside the 18. Then they come back the other way. And then you had the Heinz Ike yellow on Yeonmin Son that a lot of folks were thinking maybe should have been a red in center circle after the 73rd minute. And then you go to VAR at 3-0, and then Porteous with a swing of the arm. Then you go there and it was just once again a long night from the spot for Austin. And Jeremy Ebobisse scores goal number 4 at 90+3, and LAFC goes through. So LAFC is your 3. Vancouver is your 2. A lot of folks would sit there and say that maybe this should be the Western Conference final, but you get it in the semis because of how things have laid themselves out. The 2 and the 3 have already made it through. They're waiting on everybody else in the Western Conference. So then you also have Philadelphia make it through in the Eastern Conference, and so they're waiting. We're waiting. Philly is the top seed. They're waiting on everybody else. Literally, you're waiting on the 2-7 with Hell is Real. You're waiting on the 3-6 with Messi and Friends in Nashville. And you're waiting on Charlotte and NYC in the 4-5. So Philly gets to rest up for a bit after this rundown of matches that we had our great bit of chaos on the weekend. And it was a great bit of chaos on the weekend. Trust me on that. Let me say hi to everybody. I know. Yeah, well, it's like, KT, I don't have the pipes. I mean, if KT's like, it was a minimum 10 seconds short on the Whitecaps win. You know, I cut it short. But KT, I'm glad that you caught the reference. Dell tipping his cap to Michael Parkhurst and Rhode Island FC after their win. Great game plan and penalty kicks. Koke Vegas is a great keeper, according to Dell. That was reinforced. And we are going to talk USL Championship probably tomorrow, just in general, because it had its own bit of chaos. Like I said, Gabe Schray is going to join us at 10:30. We're going to talk MLS Next Pro and USL League One with Gabe. We're efforting Keeler Navas, who has apparently returned from a banned competition. So we'll see if we can tape something with Keeler breaking down USL Championship and round number 1 and its pieces of chaos too. So let's see. Morning Dell, morning KT, morning Abby, morning Alex, and yes, and Ricky and the boss were commiserating over the dismissal of Hugh Freeze on the Plains, and Abby is let's see, yeah, another reason changing the calendar would be beneficial to go up against you won't be going up against as many things in the lineup as you would in all of your TV choices. And KT, yeah, interesting style contrast, Vancouver's possession style and LA's counterattacking. And yeah, KT, this is kind of what we were staring at. I looked at LAFC, and frankly, because of what we're seeing with Mueller and with Yeonmin Son, it floats at times. It's beautiful to see. And there was the one goal in transition where you had Yeonmin Son. It was just an awful pass that got intercepted, and it was a great ball up the right, and Sonny got there, and it literally is one pass. Sonny runs, and then he stops and goes left foot cross, and then the goal past Stuver. That's how easy it gets for LAFC at times. They are lethal in transition, and it's been fun to watch that grow this year. And on the flip side of that, then you have Vancouver and what they've done. Thomas Mueller, he just wanted to go someplace to play. He didn't want to be the center of attention. Didn't want to be a guy. Wanted to be he wanted to be a guy. Didn't want to be the guy. Wanted to be a guy, and you're seeing that. And but anytime there's a PK, give it to Thomas Mueller. And I thought that this would be the final matchup. It should be but I think the winner of this one does win MLS Cup. I agree there that they should be the favorite anyway. I had LAFC going through. There are folks that have Vancouver going through, and I could see it both ways. I absolutely could. I just think that it's going to come down. It's going to come down to those moments that we talk about, and not having certain individuals in the middle to where it's your own. Choose your adventure coloring book, kind of like we had on the weekend. Let's see. So, Abby, morning. Let's see. Morning, Ricky. And we'll get to Bart here in a second. And Abby goes, sad that she's got to go to the ESPN app to see the first round results, who's tied and who progressed. MLS app tells you the score and who wins, but not the series. That's interesting. David, yes, I am wearing a Shrewsbury Town hoodie. Yes, I am. It was, me and my affinity for lower divisions. And this is another one of those where it's like, okay, end of season sale. Oh, it's $10. and I can get it in a size that I know will shrink and will allow for my lack of laundry acumen. So yes, I am wearing a Shrewsbury Town hoodie this morning. It can go from Shrewsbury to XFL to San Marino national team. So yes, whatever the t-shirts are, think of it as like too close for comfort for the 21st century. What is he wearing today? And so yes, today it is a Shrewsbury Town sweatshirt because it was $10 and I needed a sweatshirt. So yes, and so yes, David, it is the merry followers and the band and me. And all of you. Couldn't do it without you guys at all. But no, great to be with you again, once again, here on a Reaction Monday. And there is plenty to react to. And this is why we bring in Bart Keeler to discuss what goes on with the USMNT, to discuss what's going on with Yanks Abroad, and to discuss cards and calls. And I see his pullover. Where did this offense come from in the first quarter for WBGV, sir, West Bygone, Virginia?
John, if I knew, I'd be a lot richer than I am now, I think. I don't know. I'd at least be as rich as a guy that just got fired by some team that wears burnt orange and navy blue. But, I'm not. I didn't want to talk about it too much for you, John.
No, but no, it's
probably.
Well, I mean, look, the boss's
How is the
buyout.
household this morning?
The boss's buyout is a lot less than mine. It's like 3.5 times less the buyout. So she was just waiting for someone who, peddles wood that is yellow.
Yeah.
To cut a check. And we think it got to that point. I don't think it was a check that was for the full amount because that was already in discussion after the last loss. I think there was a negotiated settlement. And when it was determined that his standard Sunday 1:30 tee time had been wiped off the board, that was like white smoke from
investigative journalism at its finest by SEC fans.
Absolutely. Literally someone had access to that country club's tee time listing, and it is a locked in 1:30 Sunday tee time for that particular coach, and he pulled it off the board. And the boss said, well, probably it's because he didn't want to get heckled when he got onto the campus of the golf course.
Yeah.
And which would have been the better response. But yeah, so that was like the white smoke, and that was the lead that everybody followed for the sacking of Hugh Freeze. But my buyout I think it's a top 5 buyout, somewhere in the neighborhood of $55 million for a team that's 5-4. And is probably going to be 6-6 and bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And yay!
As I've said many times in college football, and I know this probably doesn't apply to your team, but you don't fire a guy or get rid of a guy or pull that trigger on a buyout for a bowl eligible team. You just don't. I know there are schools that have different standards. I'm sure the FSU is in that. Hopefully higher standard, but bowl eligibility is, I don't want to say the mark of a successful season because it's not, but it's the bare minimum because of all the things that your school gets with it, and I think if you're FSU right now, you're just looking at it going, do we pull that trigger? Because like that's a lot of money. First off,
that is true.
It's a lot of money. And it's not like there's a definitive answer out there. I mean, well, granted, there's a lot of coaches out there, but it's not like there's a definitive answer to how does the program get to where it needs to be. They've added a lot of money into that football stadium. They've tried to put some money into the program in other ways, shapes, and forms. Is it the coaching? Is it, what is it at this point? It's, okay. If we're going to pontificate a little bit, I came here to talk soccer here. Y'all talking college football. So bear with me for half a second. I think someone made this point the other day about Florida, and I don't think it's too far removed from Florida State. University of Florida has only been good for 2 periods of time. I think people have this inflated view of what UF football is.
Low down cheaters.
We know them from the 90s and mid 2000s. They haven't been good outside of 2 head coaches. Is Florida State in that as well? All right, we'll move on. Let's talk cards and calls. USMNT and Tyler Adams scoring an absolute banger. It wasn't a banger, but we'll call it a banger because it's his first goal in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, it was. We'll start with Tyler Adams because as the boss and I were leaving the planes and heading back for the rest of the weekend, trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to be talking about on Monday? And it turns out, there's a lot to talk about on Monday. There was the Bournemouth Manchester City match, and you end up with Tyler Adams having a really cool moment, just in the great sense of putting something on the board, because as you well know,
that's an absolute banger.
Well, I mean, so Tyler Adams scores. It's a moment of cool from the weekend that he got to score against Manchester City in that game. Obviously, that Manchester City was rolling until they weren't. But no, good moment for Tyler Adams on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Bournemouth doesn't have a guy named Erling Haaland. No. That does seem to be a decent trick to have up your sleeve.
Yeah, 6'4" dude that is kind of okay in the soccering. Yes,
maybe we should just go sign that dude.
I mean, it's all about recruiting, and
Arthur, go take your yacht to Manchester, take it up the canal, and woo them. Right? That's what you got it for.
I mean, it's because when you wants to woo somebody, maybe they needs a private jet. Who knows? But it was like I said, it was a really cool moment for Tyler on the weekend. But it's something else that you can add to his mm-hmm. portfolio of stuff for the rest of the weekend. When it came to all of the Yanks abroad, it was kind of a mixed bag a little bit. You end up with Chris Richards and Crystal Palace. They knock off Brentford. Brendan Aronson with Leeds. They lose at Brighton. Tanner Tessman looks like, let's see, Tanner Tessman, and this is from our friends at Soccer America. Tanner Tessman exited Lyon's goalless draw at Brest in the 15th minute after lost right back Hans Hateboer in the 8th to the fastest red card in history. Hateboer was sent off for a challenge on Pate Mboop after Tessman's soft pass failed to reach him. Lyon's sideline coach Jorge Maciel called out Tessman for the bad pass. Quote, "Such passes in this situation are unacceptable and they lead to mistakes. We need to be confident that this pass will reach our teammate. It was an unnecessary error when we were performing reasonably well in the match. Mark McKenzie is now injured, suffered at training, sat out Toulouse's draw with Le Havre. Valerian Balogun subbed for 45 minutes in a goalless draw with Paris FC. And that just gets us through England and France, sir. What else is on your mind?
I do want to talk a little bit about this Chris Richards, Crystal Palace, Oliver Glasner retort at Mauricio Pochettino. Right. For those of you who didn't see, Glasner was not happy that the U.S. played Chris Richards for all the minutes of the last window. Buddy, we got things to accomplish too here. Mm-hmm. That's my response to him is, do you think that we're just going to be like, oh, it's okay, Chris, you don't need to play when you're supposedly healthy? I mean, the dude started this week and started last week, so I don't understand. If he's hurt, why are you playing him?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
look, we obviously understand that Pochettino will give deference to clubs when players are not feeling great. We did not see Jedi Robinson, right? Mm-hmm. Christian Pulisic did not play much at all, and then obviously got hurt. Not necessarily Pochettino's fault in my view. Australia shouldn't be trying to take ankles away from people, but it's neither here nor there.
Talk to Irv Renard about that.
Yeah, right. But for me, I'm looking at it going, he played 2 games of soccer. Okay. We have a duty as a national team program to put together a good team, not just come June 12th or 14th, 2026, but also when we're playing friendlies, because in order to put together a good team that performs well at the World Cup next summer, the Cup of the World thing, you have to put out that team. Before then, I think it's fair to say, why did you play them all 90? But unfortunately, Crystal Palace has to realize that they got the U.S. #1 center back on their roster. and we got to have him.
Mm-hmm.
He is integral to our success at every level.
Yeah.
Dude's scoring goals for us too half the time because no one else can. So I understand a little bit the frustration, but that's our dude as well. And we have a big thing coming up that really, really matters. And I
Okay.
think they need to be a little understanding of that side of things.
Oh, no. It's about European qualification and making sure that you stay in Europe, sir.
I mean, I get that. I truly do.
We got to win in Europe, fam.
Let me look this up real quick.
Direct quote from Oliver Glasner, by the way. We got to win in Europe, fam.
Yeah, we got to. Erling Haaland,
Mhm.
who plays a lot for Manchester City. I think we discussed that.
Yes.
He played 90 minutes for Norway last window
Mhm.
in their matches.
Mhm.
The window before, he played 89 and 45 minutes. 90 minutes back in June. Like, so it's okay if he does it? He is the most important player in Norway. I mean, he's Norway's Gareth Bale in the sense that without him, they're nothing. So is Norway expected to just not play him? Oh, because his club might need him?
Yes.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Sorry.
We needs to win in Europe, fam. Basically,
he needs to win in Europe.
We needs to win in Europe. Elsewhere on the board in Germany, Joe Scally, Christopher Lund, Noah Kai Banks, Leonard Maloney, James Sands, each playing anywhere from 54 to 90 minutes across the board. It was Gladbach with a 4-0 win. Build on Joe Scally. They said that he should have made it 2-0 after 27, broke free, but only hit the inside of the post. But Joe Scally did win 10 of his 11 duels on the day against St. Pauli. Christopher Lund, 90 minutes and a 4-1 win. Noah Kai Banks, 90 minutes and a 1-0 loss. Leonard Maloney at Mainz, 90 minutes and a draw with Werder Bremen. James Sands had a high rating, 5 out of it was actually, sorry, my bad. It's the other way around. So Build goes, the higher the rating, the lower the grade. So this confuses me. So Joe Scally got a 2, with 1 being the highest. Yeah, Build is reversed. So Joe Scally got a 2 out of a 6 to 1. So he got a 2. So which was 1 is the highest grade that you could possibly get. So I guess Joe Scally was a B. Christopher Lund, Noah Kai Banks, Leonard Maloney were C's. James Sands, 54 minutes in that 4-0 loss on the flip side of Joe Scally, gets a 5 out of 6, which means he was like not good, I guess. Trying to translate the Build ratings here. So James Sands, 54 minutes, they didn't like him.
Well, I'll just say I think I think he got a yellow card in the match, but losing 4-0 is not on one player.
No.
So maybe the whole team was bad.
Yes. Italy. Weston McKennie, Juve, Luciano Spalletti, first game in charge. 2-1 win at Cremonese. You'd better have beaten Cremonese. 6.5. And so Gazzetta dello Sport does go from 1 to 10, meaning low to high. And so they gave Weston McKennie a 6.5, 84 minutes in the 2-1 win for Juve. Gazzetta dello Sport, Spalletti's tactical master key. He does everything, and he does it well. He finds the space to attack and the position to provide balance. So that was
this is interesting for Juve, though, and Weston McKennie specifically. But, this is another manager he has to win over.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is true.
Mainly because Juve seems to go through them like,
yes,
I mean, trash bags at this point.
Yes.
Fill it up 1 week and they got to toss it out.
Or if you buy great value trash bags and they have a split down the side for the entire roll, you go through them very, very quickly because everything comes out the side. That's your PSA.
Oh, okay. Don't buy trash bags. Don't buy Walmart brand trash bags. There you go. Anyway.
Yes, and Johnny, and go ahead and finish your Juve point.
I think Juve is there. I don't want to say they're too big to fail, but they have proven time and time again that unless they're caught cheating.
Juve is Italy's Enron, is what you're saying?
They're a little too big to fail sometimes. Well, they cheated a little bit.
All right.
But I think for Weston, I think it maybe is a good thing that he's got to win over a new manager and lead up to a World Cup. Just puts him out there to have to play his best. Now, the reverse could be true that it's not good because this manager, for some reason, just doesn't like the way he plays or doesn't see his value in the team. But he has a tendency of always impressing at Juve, despite them never actually wanting him. Maybe it's the ranch on pizza thing. I don't know, but I'm hopeful that this is a good thing for Weston McKennie.
Yes. And Johnny dresses out for the first time in more than 2 months. Didn't see action, but he was on the bench as Atleti beat Sevilla 3-0. And
John, we gonna get paid for that other dude on Atleti's team? That's really kind of good.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? He's kicking.
Every time I watch him play,
yeah,
I go, man, I got to watch that in person.
That 30 million would look really good in the coffers right now.
That would be great.
Exactly. Gabe Schray joining us in 15 minutes to talk MLS Next Pro and League One. There was the U17s on the boys' side, men's side. They kick off this week.
Yes, they do.
And they are looking to crack some skulls and win a bunch of medals and things overseas. So really looking forward to how it all plays itself out there for the U17s working their way. And I give the U17 tournament a boatload of credit for naming their mascot and having their mascot the Desert Owl as a bit of a nod to Boromir Jutinovic. I thought that was a really cool thing.
That is fun. Yeah.
Nothing like having a bespectacled desert owl that's got the hair that looks amazingly like Boromir Jutinovic. On the
I got one beat on that, John, because we talked about the women's team, the U17 women last week.
Right.
Look, these tournaments are hard to gauge anything off of. I'm just putting it out there. North Korea consistently dominates in the women's youth games, and they ain't done nothing in about a decade and a half at the World Cup.
That's true.
You know, we often see this on the men's side where the youth teams, you know, you'll get a Ukraine or a Nigeria that comes through. What you're looking for again is a dude or two that maybe will make the senior national team in 5 years at this point if they're 17. Right. So keep it that perspective, right? Wins and losses are good. We'd love to see wins, duh. You know, you want them to play and avoid a loss. Like that is a good stake to have tied to a game. But remember, these kids are 17, and as I referee these kids every week, they don't always play consistently, John.
What?
I know. Shockingly, the 17-year-old might have a little bit of a mood swing every now and then, or just not have it that day because they haven't figured it out. Now, again, what you're looking for is a couple players who maybe could be impactful 5 years from now. So keep that perspective.
Yes. Right now, it is day one of the tournament. I think the U.S. doesn't start until Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, in group.
Yep, Wednesday at 10:15 a.m.
10:15 in the morning, and it's going to be on FS2, Universo, and Peacock. But right now, at day one of the U17s, South Africa beat Bolivia 3-1. Costa Rica, UAE, a 1-1 draw. Goalless draw, Senegal and Croatia. Japan leading late 1-0 against Morocco. Argentina and Belgium, which is what I'm staring at on FS2 on the Big 55. They are goalless in the 33rd minute. New Caledonia and Portugal are underway on Telemundo, and at 10:45, Qatar and Italy, and Tunisia and Fiji. That is your day part for the U17 tournament. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on that as we go. Okay, 10 minutes on cards and calls, and
oh boy,
I gave you an ish list that was about a mile long.
You did. I got to go through this.
Well, No, Rich, you're not late to ask who were people saying Philly and Chicago needed a game 3. No.
Well, they did they not?
They get
need
it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's Rich. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I thought it would go 3 just because I thought that it would be a win at Bridgeview, but that Bridgeview looked like it was chewed up.
Yeah.
All right. So we have an abundance of things to discuss. What match would you like to start with here? Because on the 10-minute sprint that is cards and calls in Major League Soccer this week.
We'll get the Chicago one because there's a specific point in there. Leave that for the end so that we can talk about it.
Gutierrez, we will leave to the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no, we'll talk about it now because I
Okay.
actually had a goal like this this past weekend.
Okay,
that
go
I had
for
to
it.
wipe
So
off.
now the situation was it was 2-0 Philly at the time, and Brian Gutierrez ends up directing the ball into the net off of his person. It goes off of his right arm, which was next to his body, and then after review, it was wiped off the board. I think things might have been different with the ebb and flow of the match. Had that gone in and stayed at 2-1, it ends up 3-0, and that was the end result. So please proceed.
Yeah, well, first off, a great day for goalkeepers. Apparently, they just were really giving the ball away. Advantageous positions for attackers. So here's the thing, John. We're not looking at this as a handball offense. Okay, this is not was his body in or his arm in an actual position. Was there intent? Was there this? Was there no? Did the ball hit a non-playable part of the arm, and it hit his elbow, which is beyond that border, and it went directly into the goal. Therefore, it's not a goal.
Okay.
That's really all it comes down to. I had a similar situation where her hand was a little outstretched, but like she's running, so she was running at the ball, and it hit her forearm, went down to her foot. She kicked it in. You can't do that. You cannot have a ball scored directly from a handball or for it to set up a direct score for you, no matter what the other constraints around a handball might be in a non-goal scoring situation, right? So for a defender, unfortunately, if you're the attacker, the defender does have a slightly higher bar to clear if we're judging it for a handball offense. This is can't score with your hand. This is soccer. That's one of the founding principles of the sport. So for Gutierrez, it's a little unlucky because, he doesn't know anything about this. He's just jumping to try to block it. I don't think his arm is really outstretched by any real measure. I mean, it seemed like it was pretty by his side. It just happened to hit him right above the elbow, and that's an illegal, if you will, part of the arm to play it with. And it goes right into the goal, and therefore can't allow it.
Yes, that is a no-no. All right, so we've got Nashville and Miami. We have Surge and Rocco.
No controversy in that match.
So like I said, it was the own Choose Your Adventure coloring book, I think, with Alan Chapman. You have the Surge PK, which I thought was soft. You have the Jason Palacios elbow into the grill of Luis Suarez. Do you want to go with those, or do you want to go something off the board?
No, we'll do the Surge Rios Novo PK because I think this was the one that was most controversial on the Twitter sphere this weekend.
Got it.
Look, we have to separate the fact that I think a lot of the reason it's controversial is because the Messi heads are all mad that Messi might not win a game.
Hashtag Messi heads.
That'll just devastate them, and they won't know how to live their life. Miami gets a boatload of these types of calls every year.
Right.
I have no sympathy for them getting a weak penalty kick call. The problem for Rocco Rios Novo, his leg was out, and he didn't get the ball. You can't do, those are two things you can't really do in sequence like that.
No.
So I understand, and I agree with you, John. I think it is soft, but it unfortunately is a foul. It unfortunately is because you're looking at this going, okay, can Surge reasonably still make a play on this ball? I think that's a fair assumption that Surge would have got there. Would he have scored? Not based on the rest of us finishing the rest of the game, but somehow that ball would have been out of Giotis, the way I saw some of his
out
attempts
North
the rest
Speedway.
of the game. Oh, Lord. But it's not necessarily like a denying of a goal scoring opportunity. We're not looking at it in that lens because it's a legitimate play on the ball from Rios Novo. Like he's going out there to try to, in theory, block whatever shot, but he absolutely obstructs the path of Surge by getting in the way. And Surge probably would have been able to at least get to that ball later. Therefore, unfortunately for Rios Novo, it is a penalty kick. But I agree that it's soft because the contact was pretty minimal. It really was.
And at the same time, and you're taking that into the context of consistency of the center ref when it comes to administering calls in the first place. How is this individual, whomever he is in this given situation? Yes, we know that it was Alan Chapman in the Choose Your Own Adventure coloring book, but in the context of that as a foul that is called, was it within the consistency of what that individual was calling in that match? And I think that's something else that needs to be looked at.
That's a fair question.
Yeah. And so just,
I will say in this specific incident,
yeah,
right, I do think this is a little bit more of a, there was a lot of distance, if that makes sense. This wasn't a midfield scrap or like, two guys in a 1v1 situation out in the, middle of the field or even in the defensive third. This was a little bit more of a breakaway, which means you're going at a higher speed. Also means there's a little bit more distance isn't the right word, or time isn't the right word, but maybe distance is of the goalkeeper to make a play and possibly move or not move or whatever he decides to do. I do think from a goalkeeping perspective, I think Rios Novo probably I think he thought he would be okay.
Yeah.
Probably should have done a little bit more to make sure he got like the actual ball and like knocked it away. I think that was the crime here, is not really winning the ball at all, right? And that in itself is what's going to get you in trouble in these situations, because you are now impeding the progress of this attacking player to get to goal.
All right. So since you mentioned dogs, so let's go to Yuya Kubo and his straight red for dogs.
Oh, yeah.
In Hell is Real. It was
for Cincinnati.
38th minute, I believe. And Yuya Kubo was already on a yellow, but this was not a second yellow infraction. This was a straight red for dogs. Walk us through it.
Well, John, he tried to slide tackle the guy from behind and made contact with, I think, both feet. I forget which the attacker was. He took him out.
What part of the body did Yuya Kubo not make contact with?
Yeah, he clearly didn't make contact with the ball. And that's going to be a foul, period. That is a foul. So then you got to go to, okay, is it dog so? And this happens, a foot outside the penalty area, I think is maybe where they put it down.
Yeah.
It's not a penalty kick, so that's another part that we'll get into. But in this specific instance, the foul being outside the penalty area means that a red card for dog so is the appropriate action.
Yeah.
Defenders, I think Kubo was the only one back. There wasn't really a defender that could have a legitimate, reasonable play on the ball or play on the attacker after that. Yes, there's a goalkeeper, but that's, goal scoring opportunity.
Right.
Distance to goal, like I said, we're about a yard outside the penalty area. Distance to the ball, well, the attacker is literally dribbling ahead of Kubo with possession. So direction of play, he's going at goal. So all 4 Ds of dog so are met. Therefore, this is a red card. Now, I'm curious, and it would have been a moot point, but I'm curious if this would have still been a red card had it occurred in the penalty area, because there's a big, I think you can say this is a attempt to play the ball, right?
Right.
Sure. Sure. But he would have been a yellow card and he would have been sent off in this case anyway. But because this is outside the penalty area, because it meets all 4 criteria for dog so, and it is a foul, this is a straight red card.
And Yuya Kubo will not be available for match day 3 in Hell is Real. One thing I wanted to talk about overseas before we do the handoff is Sean Dyche feeling aggrieved, and I guess I should say
an English manager feeling aggrieved.
He feels aggrieved. I can't quite do a Sean Dyche yet. But it had to do with, he said, for the second time in 2 matches that he has had to suffer through a VAR not getting involved in corners. And it was Casemiro's goal against Manchester United. Second successive week, the side conceded an opening goal from what seemed to be a wrongly awarded corner. VAR can't look at it, as corners are not one of the things it oversees. And then Tavernier scores on an Olympico on what should have been a goal kick. Dyche quote, and I'm not going to do it in Sean Dyche. 2 and 2 weeks is farcical. There has to be someone who overrides this decision because it's gone and they put it straight in the goal. IFAB rejects calls to make corners reviewable, and here's why. Technical panels of IFAB met to discuss potential changes to VAR last week with incorrect corners, which led to goals on the agenda. The Italian FA suggested corners should become part of VAR's remit, and it was thought to be the most likely change to be introduced because it's normally a factual decision rather than subjective. And there were mixed views from members of the advisory panels, which former players, coaches, and refs rejected because it would mean checking how the ball went out on every goal that was from a corner. And so that worry about adding delays.
So there's two things from the laws of the game that kind of one main one, but that kind of stop this discussion. First is once a restart has been taken, you cannot go back and change that call. That is in the laws of the game. So once that corner kick is taken, we can't, no matter what happens, we can't go back and go, oh, wait, actually, this was a goal kick. Now, you can write something into the laws of the game for VAR that allows for that. If a goal is scored from a corner kick, you can, but I think we're going too far back.
Yeah.
I think we're going too far back in the play. Now, maybe, John.
Yes.
This is a case where we saw this in the U20 World Cup where they had the challenges. Now, I don't think you could challenge, okay, a goal was scored, so we're challenging the corner kick. I do think maybe you could, in theory, use one of your challenges to say, no, that was a goal kick.
Okay.
Do you want to use a challenge on that?
Okay.
That's the next question. But for me, looking at it from a laws of the game lens, the problem with this is changing the restart after the restart has been taken. You cannot do.
Yes.
That is not something we're allowed to do. Now, if you're ever at a U8 or U10 or whatever game and you see a referee do that, no, you didn't. Those things are chaos. We're just trying to get people in and out in the allotted time. But after probably U12, like we're not changing things like that. And you shouldn't be doing that at any level of play that is trying to be serious. Definitely not going to do that at the professional level. So while I understand Sean Dyche's grievance, the problem is from a legality standpoint, if you will, because we are talking about the laws of the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fit in with the scope of the laws of our game.
All right, what's going on with the Soccer for USPOD, my friend?
We're going to record this week about several things. Talking about U.S. women from this past camp, talking about how U.S. soccer decides locations, and also going to be talking about the farewell to January camp / camp cupcake, which is apparently going to be done away with, not having it this January, and Pochettino has no plans to do it after that. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as well.
As always, my friend, great to see you. I'm glad you had some offense this weekend. That makes one of us. And, well, actually, we had plenty of offense. It was Wake Forest. But anyway, you have stability of coaching, and I don't. So, as always, you can crash.
For now.
Yes, for now. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your offense. We'll catch up with you next time, my friend.
Cheers, y'all.
There goes Bart Keeler. So that means now it is a hot tag. Hot tag, hot tag, hot tag. And we go inside the imitation palatial studio / edit extravaganza locale of our buddy Gabe Schray. And for this one, we get to check up and see what's going on with Gabe because we have MLS Next Pro and League One to discuss. And he's busted out the headset this morning. See, this is how official Gabe is today, is that he's ready to talk about things on a headset. So this is like real announcer stuff, man.
Brother, I'm a wreck. Like, I'm not ready at all. Usually I have like a laptop in front of me.
Yeah.
And so I like to cheat a little bit. Prep works everything in the broadcasting world. Usually I like to have like a tab open and I can look at the standings and use that to help me tell the story, and I don't have anything today. This is just a webcam and it's clipped to a chair. It's not even on a tripod.
Hey, look, but it's level. It's level and it's good. We bring you in to discuss everything Next Pro and League One because traditionally there are some weekends where you would be doing a Next Pro event or flying down to South Florida and calling games in League One and or Championship and then flying back to do Next Pro events. In Next Pro, we now have our title game figured out. And it took a little while for us to find out what happened in the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia Union 2 gets a lead on a goal by Stas Korjanowski. But as the gentleman that used to hang on to the Ticonderoga number 2 pencil used to say, that would only be through the first 45. He'd go, not so fast, my friend. Roald Mitchell got on a roll, pardon the pun, in the second 45. This equalized it, courtesy of our friends at MLS Next Pro and Apple TV.
Going to be a penalty kick, but again, Mosquera just turning up the heat, driving inside, playing 1-2 combinations, trying to receive it back on that favored left foot.
Here's Roald Mitchell! Big equalizer! Big moment! All square in the Eastern Conference Final!
Absolute banger from Big Mitchell. What a touch, what a finish. We spoke about him being starved of service so far in this game. This isn't the best ball that he gets from this box, but he makes the most out of it. Again, drilled into the box. Look at his first touch, bang. The second one, left foot, across the goalkeeper, into the back of the net.
That's a great call.
Yeah, and I mean, so that's MLS Next Pro and Apple TV, and we reinforced the first goal from Roald Mitchell by playing Jess Charman.
That's an absolute banger.
So it's 1-1, and then Roald Mitchell is not done, as the kids say. So Roald Mitchell not done, because a couple minutes later, this happened. Once again, courtesy of our friends at MLS Next Pro and Apple TV.
Very confident in his call, but it wasn't a large offside whatsoever. It was very marginal. There's some excellent attacking play there from the Red Bulls.
Over the top, Roald Mitchell! New York leads!
Absolutely incredible from Mitchell. If there's ever an example of you don't need 6 touches to score, I think he sets the tone.
So it goes from 1-0 on the goal by Korjanowski in the first half. Roald Mitchell scores twice in 12. And Red Bulls 2 in a battle of 1 versus 2. The winner of this one was going to get home advantage for the MLS Next Pro final. Michael Bradley comes in to Red Bulls and gets them to the last game of the year in MLS Next Pro, and they're going to be going up against Colorado Rapids 2. Loons 2 get a goal in the 20th minute to take a 1-0 lead. Logan Dorsey got the goal, and then 2 goals in the second half by Alex Harris and James Cameron. And it turned out, I guess, that maybe James Cameron was the terminator for the Loons 2 season. And so Loons 2 lose it 2-1. Colorado Rapids 2 will travel to, I guess, Harrison, New Jersey for this one for the final. So it's Colorado Rapids 2 and the top seed out of the East, Red Bulls 2. Sorry, Rich. I know. Rich is in the timeline. Rich Ransom is our resident Philadelphia Union supporter. And he enjoyed the first goal on the board, but not the next 2. So your MLS Next Pro final, Gabe, Red Bulls 2 and Rapids 2.
Yeah, the Red Bulls are special. You know, the Red Bulls were good at the beginning of the year, and the last couple times you and I have talked on this segment, I've hammered how the development of MLS Next Pro throughout the year changes the way a team plays. Mm-hmm. The kids on that roster are special, and they've meshed perfectly. I think Colorado Rapids is going to have a hard time. I mean, New York Red Bulls are doing everything in every facet of the game. They transition well, they counter well, they play their game, they stay with the game plan every time out. There's really just not many flaws with the way they're playing the game at this point. I think they're beatable, but Colorado Rapids 2 has got a tall order in front of them to try and get the win, especially on the road.
No doubt about it. They're averaging about 2 goals a game, and let's see, 12 over 28, so it's like 1.4. They've given up 40 goals this season. Red Bulls 2, this might play into Rapids' hands a bit. Right now, you look at Red Bulls under Michael Bradley and slightly before, and especially that first game when he was there. Red Bulls have scored 68 goals this year. So it's, so 56 and 28. So what's that? 12 over 28. So they've 2.4 scored, and they've given up 56. So that, to me, giving up 2 goals a game on average, and I know that it's skewed from the times that they would give up a lot and then you'd have clean sheets, but that might be the lifeline that you look at for Rapids 2 in this case, where they give up a lot of goals. Yes, they're 10-1-3 at home, but Rapids 2 can look at the tape and sit there and go, okay, so there are places where they've given up goals. So I'm thinking the further this game goes from being a clean sheet, it might play more into the Rapids' hands there in New Jersey on the weekend.
I don't disagree. I like that analysis. I would also say that plays into my point of how difficult they are to beat. The fact that instead of saying, how does New York Red Bulls come out of this with a win, it's all about, can Colorado Rapids do it, right? That really tells the story. Just from where we see the match, it's all about, can Colorado Rapids find a way to beat New York Red Bulls? I like the thought of it being high scoring from a Colorado standpoint, right? If you get high flying, if you get a lot of things going on, a lot of action, a lot of emotions flying, that opens the door to you kind of skating past them. They're going to score. They're going to score. Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? Could they hang 4 or 5 on them? I doubt that. I think this is a 2 or 3 goal per club match.
Yeah.
Colorado Rapids needs some luck. They probably need to score off of counters just with how well the Red Bulls do, specifically in midfield, and then just finding those opportunities on counters. I think that's where Colorado needs success. It's not going to come from set pieces. It's going to come in open play. It's going to be fast, free running goals. That's how they win if they do. The key is there. It's in their forwards and their counterattack from midfield.
And there have been moments for Red Bulls this year where the scoring has been off the charts. I'm gonna pull the 9-2 game that they lost to Fire in Bridgeview off the board. You've got, and I'm just going to I'll go from that moment when they lose 9-2 when Michael Bradley comes in July. So they scored 2 against Crew, 2 against Union, 2 against the Revs. There was a 1-0 win at Montclair against the Fire, 7 against Crew 2, 3 against Huntsville, 1 against Messi and Friends 2, 1 against FC Cincinnati, 2 against Toronto FC 2, 5 against Core, 5 against Fire, and the Fire hemorrhaged goals, and they hemorrhaged them by the handful, and I mean that literally. There were 3 matches in a row, I think, where Fire gave up 5, and then 2 against Philadelphia. So when Red Bulls score, they score in bunches. When they don't, it's, off the other side of the scale where they try to do just enough to win. Like I said, I'm intrigued with these extremes with Red Bulls.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of extremes. I think we're past, just from where we're at in the season, I don't see them scoring 5. They could, but it just, the flow of how they've made their way through the playoff, the flow of the end of the year, I don't see this being some sort of scoring explosion. I think both of them are going to be very nervous. This is very important to these 2 clubs. They're going to come out and give it their best shot. And so they're going to overthink it. They're going to go strategy. They're going to say, how do we get here? Let's stick to the game plan and the fundamentals. You're going to have players that step up and play better than they have all season. And you're going to have guys that kind of like, I got to stick with the game plan. I don't want to get out of formation too much. But with that in mind, that's why I'm looking at the counter game, right? Who's going to step up and say, I don't care about the game plan. I care about winning. I want a championship. I want the trophy. I want the banner. That's where the win comes at. And Colorado has the opportunity to make that happen. But again, Red Bulls have just been so consistent. Looking back at scoring 5 against Chicago Fire, it's funny you bring that up specifically. That's the moment I knew they were dangerous. I said, oh, wow, Red Bulls is really good. Of course, Chicago did give up 3 matches in a row, so maybe they weren't that good. But at the time, what?
That's what Atlanta United too as well in Bridgeview. That happened.
Yeah. At the time, I was like, okay, this is it. And that seemed like a big moment in the season for Red Bulls to me at the time. But looking back, obviously, maybe not that significant, but they're here. So clearly it meant something. And it feels like they have just been on fire the whole way through. And it feels like Colorado Rapids are the club with something to prove in this.
Let's turn the page to League One, and they had 8, and now they have 4. Let me talk about 2 matches before we get in depth with the other 2. Naples continues a great first season, winning in PKs 4-3 over Union Omaha from your time in League One this year, what have been your takeaways about Naples in general?
Naples is special. These are all special clubs. I just really like. Again, I'm gonna focus on that midfield. Naples does a good job of facilitating. They play defense really well and they facilitate really well from midfield, and that's kind of a championship club at this level. I feel like it's a club that can shut down on the attack and then find ways to get forward. And at that point, if you're doing such a great job in midfield of transitioning both ways, the rest kind of falls as it may. You don't have to worry so much about scoring. If you keep flicking the ball up there to your forwards, they're going to score eventually. And Naples has got that down packed, and that's why they're here. They had a rough start to the year. Then they caught fire quickly in that first third of the season. They were right up near the top of the table for a lot of the year. Then they kind of cooled off, and here we are, end of the season. They're hot at the right time, and that's everything. You know that.
Mm-hmm. And they get to travel to One Knox, the top seed, Saturday night at Covenant Health. It's going to be One Knox in one semifinal hosting Naples. When you've stared at One Knox this year, I had the chance to see them play in Statesboro, latter part of the schedule, and they were hamstrung by Tormenta under Mark McKeever, irony alert, involving One Knox. But One Knox, top seed, they make it through. They beat Charlotte by the score of 2-1.
Yeah, One Knox is really good. I mean, they have everything. They've got the height, which I think is one of the reasons they're so good, and they've ended up top of the league. But it's funny, every time I've called a match, I do my prep work and I talk to Coach Fuller and I talk to the opposing coach and I'm like, yeah, talk to me about the set pieces. One Knox is so tall. They're going to be so dangerous on the set piece. I don't think I've seen him not a goal in all year. I mean, I don't think I've seen him use the height at all. It's all just been free, open goals, and strategically they do everything right. And I don't know how familiar you are with Coach Fuller, but from talking to him this season, my guy is all business. There is no, he does not want to laugh. He just wants to talk soccer, footy, get on the pitch and play. And that's why they've been so successful. He's got the energy, the attitude. He brings that to the locker room, the strategy, and he is a brilliant football mind. It's going to be a really good battle. I don't know how they take on One Knox. I don't know how they play against that system. One Knox does so many things so well. They've won in a different way every time I've covered them throughout the course of the season, right? You go in and you say, last time I saw this. So I kind of think they're going to do X, Y, Z. It has been completely random, the ways they've won, the ways they've put the game together. That makes it sound like they're not consistent or, that it wasn't clean. It was. I mean, they just find creative ways to win, and they look good while they do it.
The other semi is going to be on Sunday, and it means that one team has to travel from one end of the planet to the other. And that team is all our friends at P-Hop. The Portland Hearts of Pine go to Chattanooga and set an early marker for the rest of USL League One in the postseason. And sometimes you only need one goal. This is that one goal, courtesy of our friends at USL League One and ESPN+.
I am Bila. How about that work from Nathaniel James? Played up the pitch now for Washington. And the eject button being hit. Red Wolves being caught on their ankles there. Wright feeds it inside, tap back to him. Ollie Wright, he scores! The Hearts are buzzing! The spotlight always shining on Ollie Wright, and he's always ready.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and a lot of folks know Ollie from his time at Huntsville City Football Club. Before he comes, and P-Hop sought him out. They wanted him to be one of those they wanted to be one of those cornerstones in the building of this team, and Ollie comes through in the postseason to send them through to the semis.
Yeah, and that's right. Bobby Murphy told me that specifically. Hey, we wanted Ollie Wright. Ollie Wright kind of quietly made that transition and, might have gone under the radar that he left MLS NP, moved to USL 1. Man, week maybe 10 or 11, he scored a hat trick at home for Portland Hearts of Pine. And I was like, oh, Ollie Wright is over here now. And boy, is he noisy. And he's been loud since then. Had a really nice regular season, looked good week in, week out, just dominated and was commanding up and down the pitch, really good in the wing. Important piece in that final third. He powered them to wins. I think Nathan Messer, God bless him, he looks like a crazy man every time he scores. I don't know if you've seen the shots they get of him after he scores. The face he makes is wild. They just have all the right pieces. I did not think they would pull it out in Chattanooga, and not in a bad way. I mean, I really like both of these clubs. They're both fun to watch. I figured, hey, this one's going to go with the seed. Too bad, because it's been a magical year for Portland Hearts of Pine. Bobby Murphy's always got something up his sleeve. So tough for Chattanooga Red Wolves to see them exit in the playoff after such a really nice season, right? Everybody writing them off preseason. They start rough, and, man, talk about putting it together. They were number one in the league for a long time this year. But Portland, they've got something really special going on and off the field. A lot of energy, a lot of momentum. The community is really into them. They come to Chattanooga. They come to Southeast Tennessee. 10 minutes down the road for me, I might add, and they get it done. Really exciting.
No doubt. And that was the only non-chalk result in League One, but it took Spokane until the 115th minute where a handball was called inside the 6. Then you get the penalty kick equalizer. After 120 minutes, they go to PKs. Spokane survives there. Tormenta, I don't think you can say enough about the job that Mark McKeever did when he came in, taking over for Ian Cameron. That run that they got on, the second McKeever was there to be a part of the academy. He's like, I want to build the academy and this and this. And so then Ian Cameron leaves. McKeever steps in as the interim, and then they just take off, and you got to see what Tormenta could do. And Tormenta, once again, goalless after 90. They had the lead, and they just couldn't hang on to it. So a great season in Statesboro for a finish, but Spokane now, as the 3, they get to host because P-Hop was your 7. Traditionally, it would have been in Chattanooga if Red Bulls had made it through, but as the 7 seed, Portland travels now to Spokane, and that's why it's Sunday night, because I think Portland has to pack now and leave tomorrow to get to Spokane in time.
That's a long trip. Yeah. Lee Veidman is just a genius on the whiteboard. That's going to be problematic for Bobby Murphy and company. They're really good at the counter. They're really good at making things happen, but Spokane is just commanding at possessing the ball, but still attacking. They don't sit on it for too long. Lee Veidman just understands formations in the game so well. No one has ever explained to me more clearly his plan, his strategy, how it all come together, and then explained it in a way that I could see it unfold on game day while broadcasting the match. Really incredible football mind. But hey, talking of incredible football minds, the exact opposite from a strategy standpoint, at least from where I sit in the media, McKeever. What a guy. McKeever, for every question, he has 3 different similes, metaphors, and I just love talking to him. I can't even remember the third R. He gave me relentless, resistant, resilient. He just is so fun to talk to, and I can see why they were able to get that turnaround with him. Biggest personality in the world. South Georgia Tormenta has looked great under his leadership as well.
And that's Saturday and Sunday in League One as we get ready for the League One final. I know that we will all have the magnifying glass out as well. Any other thoughts involving Next Pro and League One as we head into a final on one side and semis on the other?
None on League One or Next Pro, but how about Tony Scholes, speaking of USL?
Yeah, that too.
Oh, baby, that's big news. I'm excited for them. That's going to be a really exciting time. I hammered on that last week. I keep talking about it, how excited I am for the growth of these leagues and what it means for soccer in the American market. That is a big hire, and I think it means that PNR might be on the way, boys and girls. Get ready, buckle your seatbelt, because I think it's coming to America pretty soon.
Yep, absolutely. And so for those that might have missed it, he is now the president of USL Division One. Chief Football Officer of the Premier League, former CEO of Stoke, is now the Division One president. And so that is a big hire for USL if you missed out on that. So bringing him over to discuss everything and prepare for the launch of that top-tier league, and as it says in the headline of the press release, implement promotion and relegation. So obviously, yes, we will be efforting Tony to come on the show and discuss what is going on in anything and everything going on in the USL. Obviously, this means you're coming back at 10:30 a week from today to discuss everything else that's going on from a final and semifinals as we get ready for other stuff. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Appreciate you having me as always, and hoping to talk to you soon, my friend.
That clip worked out really well. It was a nice level shot that you had there in the Schray Studios. That's very, very nicely done.
I know. Yeah, this is just a corner in my apartment. It's really sad in here, but we're getting there.
We gotta work on the stuff in that wall, man. We gotta work on.
I know.
Wall.
I gotta get some I gotta get a Millennia United poster right here. I bet Matt Moore or Jason could mail me one.
There you go.
Maybe like a scarf right here. I do have some scarves. They're just not out. I've got a Chicago Fire, Chattanooga FC, Atlanta United, Houston Sir. Ooh. Deep cut right there. A Houston Sir scarf.
There you go. See that
submarine.
There you go. See yeah. So if you want to do, like I said, this works on doors. The shower rods are on the doors, but yeah, you'd have to go with either the train track up top if you want to do something from the ceiling, but yeah, if you want to frame things and just have the scarves kind of in the wall itself going lengthwise, I think that'll work. But yeah, we got to work on that background, man.
We'll get on it. We'll get some art going here soon.
Absolutely. All right, we'll catch up with you next week, my friend. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon, sir.
There goes Gabe Schray, and he is like I said, you might recognize that voice from when you parachute in and you're keeping an eye on like League One and stuff. And when you're watching that on ESPN Plus, and so you'll hear Gabe on Championship, you'll hear Gabe on League One, and the voice of Chattanooga FC in MLS Next Pro. So it's good to catch up with Gabe and find out what's going on from his perspective as we've survived another playoff weekend involving those two leagues. Now, let's take the tour and see if there's anything else that we missed. Like I said, we'll talk about Decision Day tomorrow in the NWSL with Casey White when she joins us around 9:15. Tomorrow, also, Max Anderson slated to join us as well to discuss the season of Chicago Fire and the Chicago-Philadelphia series. In the Premier League, Vitor Pereira was sacked by Wolves, and he signed a new deal in the offseason. But if he got sacked, it was going to be a deal that they didn't have to pay out the rest of his contract. I don't know if there was a particular settlement percentage that was attached to it, but he was sacked after their start, and it looks like that Gary O'Neill might be making a return to Wolves. He's one of the names that's out there possibly to take over the vacant slot at Wolves now that Vitor Pereira has been sacked. Another couple of things, Mike Ashley apparently is making a play for Sheffield Wednesday. And I'm like, sure, okay, fine. He's preparing to enter the fight, according to our friends at The Guardian and Mad Hughes. He has provided proof of funding. And that's obviously the first part of this. Preparing a bid of about £10 million for Sheffield Wednesday in the hopes of getting a quick deal. Sale is being managed by, once again, Begbie's trainer, as they were appointed last month to run Wednesday by Defonchen Siri as an alternative to liquidation after he failed to pay players and staff on time in 5 of the last 7 months. Documentation circulated to potential buyers last week. Begbie's trainer demanded they demonstrate access to £50 million in proof of funds in order to be considered, but the sale itself is an open auction with the ultimate price determined by the level of bids. Ashley's understood to have provided sufficient proof of funding to enter the process, enabling him to begin conducting due diligence and giving him access to Wednesday's accounts and data room. Once again, the advantage of being known in the EFL, that is obviously in Mike Ashley's corner. If the sale price is agreed by Begbie's trainer, it would likely approve the transaction quickly, as there are no questions over the source and the sufficiency of his funding. Remember, Ashley has not been involved in anything in football ever since he sold Newcastle to the PIF 4 years ago, though he did buy Coventry's CBS Arena the following year, which he sold back to the club for £40 million this summer, more than double the purchase price. And that goes into Coventry City wanting to try to have everything under the same umbrella. Made no secret of his strategy of targeting distressed sporting assets. Fraser's group director previously held talks with Derby and Reading when they were facing financial difficulties in recent years before their sales to Nigel Clowes and Rob Kuig. Ashley is going to face competition for Wednesday, which is likely to drive up the price. Chris Wigfield of Begbie's trainer saying, quote, there are already 4 or 5 interested parties that look like the real deal. One of them is believed to be American billionaire John McAvoy, who holds minority stakes in the Preds and the Colorado Rockies. Also interest from at least one British and one other American group. Begbie's trainer has sold Bolton, Wigan, and the Rugby Union Club Worcester Warriors, targeting a quick sale. But once again, you've got to keep everything open for 28 days. And as Jason Stevens told us last week, 28 days with a brand name is just 28 days with a brand name. If there isn't anybody that would step up to the plate to the satisfaction of Begbie's trainer, 28 days could be kind of just kept afloat until there is a satisfactory owner after the 28-day window. So end of November, if things go well, according to Wigfield, we might know who's going to buy the football club. So that is the latest there. You also have a manager that was sacked in the championship, and it's been a long run for Southampton, sacking Will Still after just 13 matches. Not a good start. They're currently fighting for relegation, so Will Still out after 13 matches. Required reading for the day might be our friends at Walsall. Walsall right now, and we do have a new episode of The Roots coming up, presented by our friends at Nofo Brewing. Matt Sadler sat down with Sky on rebuilding and challenging after what happened last year in the League Two playoffs. Right now, they're the top of the ladder in League Two. Can they hang on to it in the sprint that is League Two? So you go to Sky, catch up with our friends at Walsall, who are powered by our friends at Nofo Brewing and the Travella Group. And that's a reminder that Travella is going to be with us tomorrow to discuss the multi-club ownership model and how folks from Birmingham, Alabama got interested in wanting to do that. So we're going to find out about the Travella Group tomorrow. That'll be at 10 o'clock. So tomorrow, in some manner, way, shape, or form or fashion, it's going to be Casey White, Max Anderson of the Chicago Fire play-by-play from WLS 890 AM, the Travella Group to discuss multi-club ownership model, and Jason Stevens. That's going to be the show tomorrow in some order. We do know Travella is going to be at 10 Eastern. We know KCD is going to be at 9:15. And we know that Max Anderson will be in there somewhere, and Jason Stevens will be in there somewhere too. So that's the rundown for tomorrow. Required reading for today might be over at The Athletic, where they break down Barcelona's financials. And that, to me, might be something that you might be staring at for a while. So you end up with a deep dive by our friends at The Athletic. Chris Weatherspoon, first football dedicated finance writer, chartered accountant who uses the bookkeeper to explore the money behind what's going on. And the headline from the article, Barcelona's time in the wilderness, the first sentence, such as it was, seems to be over. And so Barcelona's struggles are there, and you get to keep an eye on the pitch and everything. True picture is more nuanced as it goes. And so you look at year-to-year total revenue up 29%. Operating profit from one year to the next is 139% up. 96% up in profit or loss before taxes. And so you have all of these things. And hang on just a second. I have to do something off camera. Wages, 8% increase. Wages to revenue is a 10% decrease from year to year. And it is net spend of a profit of an increase of 213%, and gross debt. We all know about gross debt and debt being gross just in general. It is a 23% run, gross debt increasing by 23%. And so you have that going from year to year, from 24 to 25, but the gross debt increasing by almost a quarter, from $1,182,600,000. And this comes from Barcelona's own financial statements, non-percentage values in, this is euros, not pounds and such, but euros, total revenue in euros up 29%. Operating profit from a 185 million euro loss to a plus of 72 million is an increase at 139%. So I'm just rereading everything in euros. Profit or loss before taxes, once again, you go from 204 million euro loss to an 8 million euro loss. So that's a 96% adjustment. Wages, once again, up 8% to €500 million at 510. Wages to revenue down 10%. Net spend is from a minus 30.6 million euro to a 34.5 million euro increase on the north end on the positive, so up 213%. and gross debt, 23% increase in gross debt. So keep an eye on that. Revenue behind is third highest, less 30 million behind Real Madrid, Manchester United. No other club topped 600 million euro. They had the largest transfer fee in history to add to that pile when Neymar was slid out. And then remember from 1920 all the way through the 21-22 season, that was when profit and loss was below 500 million euro in that particular window. And so the costs ballooned after Neymar's departure. So what I would recommend is if you got time during lunch, if you've got time during lunch today, I would probably and you've got a subscription to everything involving the activities at the Athletic. So keep an eye on that and maybe just have that as your noonday lunch reading. So that would be what you're staring at here. Update on the Big 55 about what's going on in the U17 World Cup. It is now 2-1. Belgium has scored in the second half. They lead Argentina with 30 to go. So big goal for Belgium as they now take the lead. And this is opening day of the U17s. We're going to obviously keep an eye on the U17s as it moves forward. And let me run through the final scores and what we have so far. Where was it? It's like you sit there and it's like FIFA.com. Okay, great, fine. You hit FIFA and it's like, all right, well, where is it? Now, I wanted to do the U17s. So, all right, so U17s. I don't want to go to the live blog necessarily, but your scores so far today. South Africa winner over Bolivia 3-1. Costa Rica and the UAE goal, tie at 1. Senegal, Croatia goalless draw. Japan 2-0 over Morocco. Belgium with the lead. It's on FS2 and Universo. New Caledonia and Portugal are tied at 1. This would be a great result for New Caledonia. And that's on Telemundo. Italy leading Qatar 1-0 in the 19th minute. That's on Deportes Ahora and Fox Soccer Plus. Tunisia and Fiji are underway, and that is also on Telemundo as well. And that is goalless 19th minute in Group D. Tomorrow, before we come back and see you, it is Ivory Coast and Switzerland, Brazil and Honduras, Mexico and South Korea, Haiti and Egypt. That will come on before we come on at 9:05 tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for all of that. Now, also on the board, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. You do have some college tournament finals that are today, one of them involving Mercer. So keep an eye out for that. BNB in Espanol has a doubleheader in the Polish League at noon and 2:30. You can watch that on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Get your subscription to Fanatis. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, add more leagues to your truly degenerative nature. Morning Pars. FS1 once again, 10:45 slated. Seattle and Minnesota, probably more like 10:55 or 10:57 on the kick, considering it's on Apple and FS1 and Fox Deportes. It is FS2 had the two matches today. Being in Espanol on the simulcast. La Liga at 3 o'clock. Fox Deportes, Serie A at 2:45. Seattle and Minnesota. Late night. Universo has the two matches again in simulcast. Apple and Season Pass, Seattle and Minnesota. ESPN Plus, the La Liga match. Premier League Monday Night Football, Sunderland and Everton is at 3 o'clock. That one is at NBCSports.com. And Paramount Plus has Serie A doubleheader, Sassuolo, Genoa, Lazio, and Cagliari at 2:45. And once again, follow along your favorite teams, and you can catch up with them in the postseason. Like I said, conference final today on the women's side involving Mercer. And so we'll keep an eye on all of that. That is going to do it for another go-round of SDH AM. I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Once again, tomorrow it is going to be a stacked show across the board. It is going to be, in some manner, way, shape, or form, Casey White talking NWSL, college, and probably some MLS if she's up for it. And we'll see if Owen wants to be on camera tomorrow. Somewhere in there, Max Anderson is going to be available to us to talk about Chicago and Philadelphia. Jason Stevens will be available because we're talking to him today about multi-club ownership and all the rules of engagement. Maybe Mike Ashley comes into the conversation now, too. Talk about that. That'll be on tomorrow. And then Travella Group is going to be coming on with us, and we're going to find out what it's like for folks in Birmingham to have a multi-club ownership aspiration and building their multi-club model from Birmingham to the other side of the Atlantic. We're going to find out about that tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern time. as well. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do here on SDH AM. Mucha plati, y'all. Play it safe. And since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Back at it again, lesson 22. We'll catch up with you soon. Tonight, 8 o'clock, soccer over there on the network from the Brew House. Come join us virtually or in person. We'll see you there.